And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's a changing of the guard. We can't change people on the desk without saying that. And, of course, it's all but enjoyable now. We're moving on after our first best of three. Raven, I'll give you a chance to actually touch on it very quickly. But CAG, what a return to form in the final two games.
Yeah, look, they pulled it up. And it was a bit worrying at first with Coastline. It really was. But they stepped it up big time. I think in particular, Chalet is the most notable step up from them because that was Guts' map pick. It was off the back of that Coastline 6-in-a-row round loss. So big props to them. I'm excited to see if they can progress further.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see for that one, of course, because we are now moving on to a different match. It is going to be Kira taking on Guts. Xenox. Just give me an overall thoughts here because I think this game has weight to it.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. I mean, the one thing I want to put out immediately here onto the broadcast is it's not a meaningless match. There's SI points up for grabs, about 30 points the difference or so. I think I don't have it on me at the moment, but about 140 for winning and 110 for losing, something along those lines. So there is a little difference here. So you do want to win this. Not only that, it's only a best of one, right? So it's also going to be your last game for this stage. So no holding back. You're going to want to win it. There's nothing else that you're going to be able to play for. And for Guts Gaming, even being in this situation is probably diabolical, the fact that they're going out this early on. So look, I would expect them to be favorites over Kira Esports.
Yeah, it's a really great point you actually make there, Xenox. This is, of course, a best of one. I don't think I really prefaced that one. So, Raven, we'll have a look at the Guts lineup. We've obviously just seen them play. I think that this is going to be, they will come into this as favorites, but 4 games in a row with very little rest. Surely the fatigue's got to set in.
Yeah, look, I think they'll be ready for it. They've been playing a lot of Siege lately, so I think they're pretty conditioned. But like you said, we just saw them play. I think they put in a good performance against Cyclops. They just couldn't quite rein certain things in there. But if you want some focused players, honestly, all of them played a pretty good game at one stage or another. But I feel like the two most consistent were probably JJ and Lights. In particular, those first two maps, it felt like we were saying Light's name pretty frequently. So look, they put in a pretty well-rounded effort, just not quite strong enough to overcome Cyclops.
And of course, their opponent, Xenox Kira, I believe you got to see a little bit of them in action against CAG yesterday when they managed to make a monumental victory over the Japanese roster. What do you make of this squad?
Yeah, look, I'm going to be completely honest here and preface that I didn't see too much. Of course, we had the live match going on as well, so I was very much sort of stuck between two worlds. But what I did see was good, and they played well. It was on Chalet, and so there's a bit of factor to that. How much do you really take away from it? Not only that, it was a best of one. It went to all 15 rounds, so it could have easily been a Cyclops win, and well, we would have had an entirely different bracket. But if ends or buts, they did get the win, and a deserved win at that. And they've shown good signs here in the APAC playoffs. And win or lose here, I think they should be pretty happy with their performance, not just as a team, but for the South Asian region as a whole. They've very much shown us in the first 2 days that they are a region that can compete with APAC North and with APAC South. So look, in terms of specific names, I've liked what I've seen from Death Amar. That was more so in the Cyclops versus Kira Esports match on Chalet. But everyone else has really shown up as well throughout their matches so far. One thing I will say, their 7-2 performance against Fnatic was a little bit disappointing, and I'm not sure if that's a full assessment of the team as a whole.
How much can you read into that, Raven? Obviously, a 7-2 victory is commanding by Fnatic, but Fnatic, after all, they are an extremely strong roster.
Yeah, look, they're strong. They've been practicing a lot leading into this. I mean, every team has, but we heard that they've been just grinding incredibly hard. Hats off to them. On top of the fact that I really felt like they won that veto against Kira. Just felt like Consulate was the map that they played. I felt like that just played perfectly into what Fnatic wanted to do to counter Kira. So I think Kira need to try and target in a map here that's going to help them out a little bit more, because otherwise I think Guts will probably do the same.
Interesting. Xenox, do you want to theory craft it all in the maps, or do you not feel qualified enough?
Look, I get one of those, all right? I can't get away with that every single time, otherwise I wouldn't be here. Look, the one thing that's disappointing for me, and we obviously didn't get to see the match as it wasn't on the main stream, although it was actually on one of the other streams, their match against 7th Heaven, really disappointing. And let me read it out to you. 7-1 on Oregon, a pretty structured map, right? And then 7-3 on Coastline, a map where it is a little bit more loosey-goosey. Now, of course, they, as you mentioned before, Raven got beaten quite convincingly on Consulate. Fnatic's attack was just too strong. The only map they did well on, Chalet. If they don't get Chalet, I don't see a world in which they're going to win this best of one. I just don't sense that they've got the structured prowess to take out a team like Guts, you know, for instance. So if they can get something like Chalet, something a bit funky like that, I'd give them a chance. But outside of that, I think they'll struggle.
That's an interesting point. Let's have a look at the veto, because I mean, if you are right, you may well be the biggest analyst here. We are going to Villa. Raven, I mean, are you going to reiterate what Xenox has said here, or do you think Kira still have an opportunity in this one?
Look, I never want to write any team off, and the fact that they pulled out a surprise win against Cyclops at all, whether it was Chalet or not, I think always gives them just that hint of being the dark horse that could pull out an upset. I think not, though. I'm still going to lean in towards Guts. Like, they played incredible against Cyclops. They've played quite well most playoffs. Villa, I think Guts will play pretty strongly on as well. I was laughing as well when the video came out that Guts insta-banned Chalet, so it was never going to be a play.
Yeah, and Xenox, any counterpoints there? Villa is I mean, I know you're not the biggest fan of Villa, but I mean, look, Kira have had a pretty incredible storyline, all things considered. So is there still something left? Is there some fuel in the tank?
Well, all I would say is I hope that Kira Esports like Villa a lot more than I do, personally. I think it might give them an opportunity. The one thing that did surprise me was the insta-ban from Guts on Oregon, considering that Kira just got beaten up 7-1 by 7th Heaven on Oregon. And I actually did feel like maybe the more structured maps wouldn't sort of play well for Kira, but maybe Guts have got their own reasons, obviously, for that second ban. Chalet, no surprise to see that one go immediately. And look, it was down to Clubhouse and Villa, and I think Kira's ban on Clubhouse again highlights that they would probably prefer Villa, where, you know, there's a bit more of a roam game, and maybe they got an opportunity to catch Guts off guard a few times, and that might get them enough round wins to maybe sneak a best of one win.
Now, very quickly, just looking at the stats for Kira, obviously 5-1, 5 wins, 1 loss on Villa is a pretty decent record, Raven, but that is in the South Asian Nationals. So do we think that you know, we can hold some kind of weight to that result?
I mean, that's the thing that always makes it tough. We just haven't seen much South Asia outside of the South Asia bubble. Look, they have taken some wins against Mercenaries on Villa. That's probably the most comparable thing that we have, but it's just so hard to gauge. And conversely, Villa's been a bit of a flip-flop one for Guts. They actually lost to Damwon Gaming recently in APAC North and Villa. That was an 8-6 game, so close. Look, I think looking at map stats, Kira probably have a chance, but I honestly just can't look past that Guts easily the favorites for this.
Yeah, and look, I guess win conditions here, Xenox. Do you have any? I know you were talking about Death Amar when we're having a look at the lineup. Is there a specific player that really needs to show up here for Kira? Is there anything that you feel like could be the determining factor between them showing up and potentially not at all?
Yeah, I wouldn't pin it on one player. This is going to have to be a team effort. This is going to have to be a game that Kira Esports win as a team, which is exactly what they did, by the way, against Cyclops. It was very much a team effort. So that's what they're going to have to repeat here. Villa's probably not going to be too bad of an option. The statistics do say it's a little closer to that 50-50 margin, roughly a 55 to 58 defensive win rate in the APAC region as a whole. That's South and North. So look, if they can attack well, if they can steal a few rounds here or there, it'll give them a big opportunity to pinch it. And again, at the end of the day, it's only a best of one, and let it be known that, you know, Indians, they are like Australians, Manic. They will fight. They're very resilient. They're very competitive. It's a lot on the line here. SI points. Look, because it's a best of one, I give them a big opportunity here on Villa, but as Raven said, it's so hard to go past Guts, really, and that's a full credit to the long, rich history of Guts Gaming.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're Australian and we love an underdog story, so we'll let Dev and Guz take away all of the action. Gents, enjoy.
Cheers, I'm sure we will. This is the 5th and 6th seeding match here. Both these teams can no longer get 4th place, but they do have a shot at 5th, which is pretty good, to be honest. So, guys, overall, how are you feeling about this one? Are you going for the underdog story for Kira?
Yeah, why not? I think it'll be good to get around the South Asia region. You know, they need a little bit of love, and who knows, if they can get some cheeky SI points or additional SI points on top of what they're already going to earn, might set them up for some sort of crazy late stage runs. So I'm just going to back Kira in and wish them all the best.
Well, there you have it. We've heard the predictions, we've set the scene, and now we go to Villa for a South Asia versus Japanese match here. Kira looking to continue the form they've already had against the Japanese with their victory over Cyclops in their opening game. Let's see if they can take on a wounded Guts Gaming here on Villa.
Yeah, in terms of bans, we could see something pretty spicy here, right? So every time Kira have played this map, they ban Thatcher. Guts, Thatcher is also their most banned attacking operator, so we may well see something pretty wild come out, especially considering that Guts do have the first attacking ban. So there we go, they do actually bring the Thatcher to the table. So what will Kira respond with? Literally the last 7 times they have played this map, they have banned Thatcher every single time. So they're going to have to get a little bit out of the comfort zone.
I guess it just gives them the freedom. It's like, oh, you guys banned our operator. We can do whatever we want. We have this is going to take them the full time to think about it. Like, yeah, we could ban some of this. We could ban some of that. And Zofia. Wow. All right, then. So not a common ban, but one we actually saw Fnatic ban twice already throughout the tournament against, I believe one of those matches was, in fact, against Kira. And I guess overall it just reduces the amount of explosives / soft breach that you do have available. You're probably going to lean more on things like the Ashe, maybe even the Yana to compensate.
Guts to round things out. We'll see what they want to close out the bans with, and it will be Valkyrie again. Not too unexpected considering that Valkyrie is, or has been, the only operator they have banned on Villa in their last 7 attempts. So I'd say for the most part, both teams feeling quite comfortable at the conclusion of the ban phase, and probably nothing too crazy to note outside of maybe that Zofia. But I feel like that's been creeping in a little bit, particularly in APAC. Some teams target banning their opposition. Of course, Zofia not only is just an absolute crazy gunner, but actually has very good utility as well.
Definitely one of those ups where you have a lot of players very much lean into it, feel very comfortable on that. So we'll see how it pans out. Envy bringing the Fink. Oh, this is what I love to see. It's always those regions like South Asia that like to bring things a little bit different. We saw some lovely creative mirror strategies on Consular. I believe it was from Kira, may well have been Mercenaries. And they are continuing that creativity right here and now. Finka,
attackers need to locate and
dare I hazard a guess at what the intention is behind this Finka? Maybe it's just to go deep and really give your side something to push with. Because one of the things with Finka these days is, like, it used to be you could pick her and say, oh, we'll pick her for the frag grenades and you know, the boost is just a bonus. But she doesn't actually have those frag grenades any longer. They've been replaced with smoke, so you can't necessarily lean on that excuse.
Yeah, it was 6-pick, so you would have to assume that Kira trying to catch Guts off, maybe with some early round aggression. Heading into this matchup, Guts maybe not anticipating an overly aggressive playstyle, but South Asia are pretty renowned for that, to be honest. Again, quite an isolated region. They've developed their own sort of meta, and for the most part, it is very reliant on frags and aggressive play. I guess Guts can tame that with the Melusi pick, for example. One Banshee placed at the bottom of the main stairs, and that would indicate that they'll actually hold those red stairs quite fiercely. Deployable shield as well being utilized there, and also another one on top of the model, in fact, facing towards top red as well. So a lot of emphasis from the defense on this part of the map.
So what's the take here? And this AVG hold, not extending a lot. First boost was actually used very early on by Kira as a bit of a duel around the head's window. Envy assisting to clear, being the anvil to Rattler's hammer, as Deer control has well and truly been taken. Rattler not giving a rat's ass about whether he's walking all over the prize trophy of Villa.
What did you just say, Dev?
You heard me.
Oh, jeez. Come on, Dev. We're going to take this game seriously. There's SI points on the line.
There certainly are. You want to touch on that for a moment? The SI point distribution, I believe you were already quite across that, was 140 for the winner of this game and 115 for the loser. So that is a bit of a difference there. And also an exchange early. Rattler finds the opening pick. Lovely pinch here as Rattler does his darndest to try and clear the red stairs. Guts Gaming do, however, have some support with Light below.
Yeah, Light and Yura double stacking this position, but Rattler does end up going above. As Light's pressure diminishes from below, he's going to go for a rotate over towards Astro, but his impact, at least in the meanwhile, will be very, very limited. Of course, Kira Esports needs to be mindful of that flank, but by the time he wraps around, the damage might already be done.
Ooh, that's an unusual shield there from Guts. And Lily hoping to duel around the corner. Pre-fire barely misses, and Rattler's found at third. A monstrous start here from Kira Esports as JJ starts to get desperate at 90. Lily trying to do his best, finds one, but Rattler makes it a 4K. JJ, the last man standing for the Japanese. That gas does a lot of damage, but Rattler is hungry for more. The ace is shut down, but JJ now has to retake against 3 players.
Trapped now inside of the vault. And he gets shut down there, Slayer with the AK to close things out. A huge round from Rattler, narrowly misses the ace, but Kira, they don't miss out.
A strong start here for the underdogs, and it does make me wonder at what point will we stop regarding South Asia as the underdogs, because yes, while we have had mercenaries eliminated early, you know, so were Chiefs, the Oceanic Nationals championing team. And we had other teams also eliminated. Of course, both of these teams knocked down into the lower bracket and have also lost a lower bracket game, so they can't progress further. This is just a seeding match. So in a way, I feel like South Asia has punched above their weight. They've done almost just as good a job as some of these other, you know, APAC North and APAC South teams. So how long will it take for us to really start giving Kira some more respect?
Time will tell. I guess APAC has always, in the history of Siege, been considered the underdog. Maybe not as much recently, but definitely in past years when they were introduced into the ecosystem a little bit later compared to some of the other major regions, and it took them a while to establish themselves and make a name for themselves. And I assume South Asia will probably follow a similar trajectory once they get a couple of years in the ecosystem and some good exposure at a high level of play. They'll grow exponentially. Of course, participating in officials and gaining this experience and exposure is invaluable. Very different to the scrim environment, and a lot will be learned by these teams. Even Mercenaries, for example, who dropped out a little bit earlier, they still would have learned a lot. And the likes of Kira are only going to grow even more. And they've already shown a lot of growth, right? They were not on the South Asian radar last year. I think it was 5th and 4th in the South Asian Nationals last year. In the closed quals, they didn't make it through to the mini majors, but now they find themselves here in the cross-regional competition.
2 rounds in, and Rattler's found 5 kills, my god! Seemingly unstoppable right now, Akira, as we gas them up. Rattler puts his foot hard down on the accelerator as this map control slowly gobbled up here by Akira. Drones going on forward, but Lily fights back, taking that out. Slayer just dueling. Amar has also made some really early progress as well. That nade may well have caught out Light. A little bit of damage as his shield gone. I can't as of yet tell.
Light already using 2 gas canisters to try and push back this bathroom position. He's getting pressured. The upside down rappel from the window, spotted out. Light narrowly misses the shot. He gets quite aggressive, but doesn't quite find the pick. Yura now alongside to support with the MP5, and Rattler gets caught off guard. Lily taken down elsewhere though. Kira still with the advantage.
Looks like Crazy Papillon's going to attempt the revive here, coming up red stairs, but Amar is covering it. And Envy, did he just walk on into the bomb site? Hello, Amar as well. And it looks like Kira have turned up the heat all on Yura. He will have to ace this, potentially pick up Lily. There's so much time on the clock to work with for the South Asians, and there's absolutely no way this is going to happen. A 4v1 post plan for Kira. Yura looking for a consolation frag, and he gets nothing in return. Kira Esports, 2 back-to-back attack rounds to make a statement here on Villa.
Great start here from Kira, leaning in to that Finker pick, which is awesome to see, facilitating some aggression, giving Kira the confidence to go for picks. And despite it being a little bit of a worrying start in that round, particularly towards Astro, where they struggled to take control early, they were able, of course, to recover, quickly ascertain map control, or ascertain the objective, and then take map control. And from there, Guts on the retake, never really standing a chance.
Guys, do we start to get worried here? This is the pride of
Wait, worried
Japan.
about what? I picked Kira, man. I don't know what are you on about?
Do we? All right, well, you're not worried. You're just chilling. And
I'm happy.
maybe
I'm
this is
vibing.
once again you cast a cursing
Attackers
a
need to
team.
locate
Somehow,
and defuse
I honestly
any
don't know
bombs if
how,
they can.
but your predictions, even when you just put absolutely zero thought into them, and
Hey,
they're kind of half troll picks,
Zero
you seem
thought.
to be...
What are you on about? I put
what-
years of calculations into generating that prediction. I don't know what you're on about.
All right, mate, whatever you say. I'll take your word for it, but certainly got to take a lot more than that for Guts to get a way back into this, because my God, it's just crazy when you think about it. You said it before, right? Kira, they didn't even play in the South Asia Nationals, like the top level with the November mini majors and such. Last year, it was always Mercenaries and Union Gaming. Like, Kira were always just looking, on the outside looking in, right? 4th, 5th, etc. through the Nationals.
Attackers
And
must locate and defuse
Guts,
the
on
bomb.
the other hand, are a team that have always been quite strong within Japan. They made their way up from the middle pack and capitalized on the downfall of teams like Norengo to assert themselves as the second best team from Japan, just behind Cyclops, even taking down Cyclops a few times. And Japan's meant to be one of the strongest nations in Rainbow Six, and here we are. And Kira Esports may well take down Guts here.
Envy again, applying pressure early here on the Finker. Keeping in mind, he is one of the new additions to this roster. He only jumped in just before the closed qualifiers for the South Asian Nationals. He has not been a part of this team for very long, but at least in this map in isolation, having a huge impact. Talk about impact. Lily from the Astro stairs narrowly misses a pick. A Favre gets away with just a little bit of HP from that engagement.
Let's get the boost, though, from Finker, so that's some extra temporary hit points. As that wears off, Kira Esports need to start working on this map control. They've taken some as they move up. Of course, Red Stairs was a heavy point of contention previously for Guts. They have somewhat changed their strategy, not leaning as heavily into holding Red. A little bit of barbed wire, but it's actually a player at Skull, I believe, light. In fact, oh, he's not even needed. Yura just gets the long shot, and that is Rattler, that key fragger, taken out.
Light in that key position. If spotted, Kira would definitely bring this back to a 4 versus 4, but if he goes undetected, he's in a great position to swing and maybe find a couple more picks here for Guts. Meanwhile, though, Kira have taken control of 90. That could be where they look to head this attack from. They still have a hard breach on the board. Light currently sitting in a smoke. I'm very scared for Kira with Light in this position.
Oh, and there it is. He finds the first pick, looking for a second. And Lily is there to support. This is perfect from Guts. Retaking the Red Stairs now. And Kira are pushed backwards. Dav desperately trying to pull off a wallbang as Envy comes to help. But it may be too little too late here as Light's looking for another. And here comes the big body shots come through. Envy finds one traded. And it's all on a Thav. He's not long for this world. Guts Gaming fight back and find their first round of the game.
Cheeky plays there from Guts and a lack of due diligence rather there from Kira Esports. They had at least 8 drones up in the late round there and just simply didn't use them effectively enough to clear out top red, bot red, skull, all of those positions left exposed. They were weaknesses in that attack and they were well exploited by Guts, who held firm, found their picks, and it was a confident response to what was a little bit of a shaky start to their defense.
Okay,
cheeky
Envy.
floors.
Like how he
Stick it,
stipulates it. Yeah, I don't think the admins would be too happy with that one at the moment. Flores just sitting in that competitive quarantine for now, but Finker, of course, is 6 pick, as was...
many bombs as they can.
who was it that was on the Echo? I think it was JJ, 6 picks off the Echo onto the mute. Maybe it was Crazy Papillon, not quite sure. I missed that. But, of course, Guts are changing things up a little bit. They're going to dining. For a minute there, they were teasing the idea of a living library. That was actually selected for quite some time. Honestly, it baited me. Like, I literally wrote it down on my notes. And incredibly disappointed in you, Guts, for not sticking living library. But I'll find some way to forgive you. And perhaps the gateway to forgiveness comes through this Frost pick, Guz. Your favorite.
10 seconds remaining.
Yeah, without a doubt, the single greatest defensive operator in the current meta.
Go.
Just joking. But she is, of course, very strong. As I always say, shotgun, fantastic for rotates, and on this occasion, creating vert angles. You have the frost mats as well to fortify some of the jump ins and make them a little bit more precarious for the attack. And, of course, on top of all of that, you also have a deployable shield. Another piece of utility. Oh my god! Envy!
Oh my god.
Lily? Nope. Neither of them have no idea.
Watching back the VOD, they are going to find that hilarious. I think actually someone just droned out Lily, though, in library. As he pushes on back towards living.
Well, that was unfortunate. Thought we were going to have some excitement there. Clearly neither player hearing the other, so that's unfortunate. But either way, in the meantime, Deathamar on the Yana has taken swift control of Tails, looking to transfer that into stat control. And Athav, of course, on the Nomad. He can set up some flank watch and ensure that Guts don't flank over from AVG. They have a pretty good hold here at the moment, the attack. Just need to maybe find a pick or two. Envy! That's a clean shot there onto Lily, and that's the Frost taken down.
Lovely long angle. Look at that pre-play C4 from Crazy Papillon, just waiting to pull that trigger. It's so hard to get this timing right. He's got to pack away the pulse scanner and get it. Might even be able to get a multi-kill here. It's all about the timing. And it's all about the... Oh, there it is! The C4 comes through, but this is going to be a free revive. The second C4 tries to confirm it, doesn't get a thing. And that's perfect from Kira. They maintain that man advantage and burn through two of those C4s.
I don't know if my eyes were deceiving me, but I did just see two players there from Guts playing super aggro over towards red, maybe trying to rotate, go for a flank. Yura is creeping over towards Piano on the southern side of the map, so keep an eye on him late round. Of course, Crazy Papillon down below, despite using AC4, can still gain good intelligence for his team and call out where exactly Kira are electing to push from. And it does appear as if they've decided to rotate over towards Laundry, and Slayer will be trying to get this wall open. But there is a mute jammer halting that at the moment.
Oh, that mute jammer taken out through the vertical control. Great work from Kira. Crazy Papillon really feeling that heat. The JJ evens this man advantage. Yura is on for a flank. This could be everything for Guts. Waiting patiently. But the air jab, the jig is up. Another one! Yura falls flat on his back, but Crazy Papillon on sight holds down. There's the flank. Yura finds one anyway. And it's all on Amar. Yura gets a second one. Doesn't matter if he's air jabbed, slapped onto his backside, he can still frag out.
Yeah, it seemed to fall apart a little bit there for Kira. I'm not quite sure what the intention was of the last two players, right? We saw one towards bot red trying to get in towards Sheets, the other at the bottom of Astro's stairs, despite 30 seconds previous to that, the intent being to open up Laundry and maybe go for a music plant or a dining plant. So that plan did seem to fall apart a little bit towards the back end, and Guts with a really nice flank and some good on-site holds were able, of course, to push that back pretty easily. They won their ones. Simple as that. Evens up the scoreline and keeps it nice and tight.
So now we've had a couple of rounds to look at Kira, and we were pretty hyped after the first two. We liked the finger pick. How are you feeling, guys? Do you reckon these guys are looking good? Do you reckon that finger, like, what is the goal with the finger? That's what I want to know, because at the moment I'm just spitballing.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Kira and their VOD reviews have watched a little bit too much APAC North and trying to copy their counterparts. Obviously a pretty popular pick up there. Actually popular in APAC South as well with some of the Thai teams too. So maybe they've drawn some inspiration from that. Has it had an impact? I think it's safe to say it probably has. Envy himself is, just alone going 5 and 2, which is pretty solid. And I'm sure he's been using those flashbangs when needed to try and clear some of that utility for the likes of Deathamar running the nades. Outside of the individual impact, difficult to measure, right? We don't have some stat that we can bring up as to, you know, how much better each player's recoil has been, or how many engagements they've won as a result of the health boost, or whatever that case may be. But you would assume that it's having at least some impact. You wouldn't just be bringing it for the sake of it. There's plenty of other operators that are pretty trendy in the current meta that bring more utility, if, of course, that Finka was not being effective.
Yeah, I mean, perhaps the obvious one there would be the Zephyr, but of course banned out by Akira themselves. So, we move on. Let's see how they go with this roam clear once again. Akira seem to be pretty consistent, all things considered. This roam clear, this early phase of the round is usually quite strong. They found the opening pick 3 out of these 4 rounds so far. Ooh, great pre-fire there. He knows there's a player trapped in that corner. Envy's so hot on the ball here. Also vulnerable. Guts know what's up. I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit of counter-aggression here, and there it is. Yura dancing, but doesn't overpeak.
Yeah, Light's in a really awkward position here. If they can clear him out and maybe send down a nade. Oh, there we
Perfect.
go. Right on cue. Envy follows up to try and maybe get a second, but it's a Rattler off screen to find that one. Envy narrowly misses in the meantime, but they do have a 5-3 advantage here. Kira can just take a breath. Still so much time left as Guts default back towards site.
Man advantage is just massive for Kira Esports. Honestly, that was such an impressive util burn. There were 2 ADSs to chew through, and that worked. Here's Envy, hello! The Thav falls, Lily's making a play, up 90, and Guts have somehow evened this man advantage. The retake from Lily as well, ever present. I wonder, is Slayer aware? Did Kira realize their drone at 90 was shot out?
Well, they know there's a player in stat, but if you just run straight past 90, it's a risky play. Really get caught in the crossfire. He is Lily. Left uncontested at 90. Slayer and Rattler now need to salvage this round. It's really just fallen apart. Slayer over towards red. He's found 1, but he needs to find 2 more.
What a round from Lily, the play. Big risk to retake 90, but it's netted him 3 kills in the process. Slayer looking to 1v2. What a gun to have for it, though. The AK-12. Peeking on. And Lily actually gets back to site safely. Now it's a 1v2. Attacking the bomb site. Slayer to open up another angle. Actually has to deal with this Banshee as well. Difficult. Smoke to cross. Destroys the Banshee. Moving forward. Needs this to be 2 1v1s. Planting. Not really on the cards. Guts are playing this well. But Slayer's running short on time. These 1v1s won't be presented to him willy-nilly. He might actually be able to plant here behind the shield suddenly. The onus is on Guts to make sure that this plant doesn't go down. That's an impact, a C4 maybe. And this will be a beautiful kill cam. Lily a 4K on the round and destroying the shield with the impacts. Honestly, that's not something you see every day.
Yeah, there seems to be a recent trend with teams planting behind deployable shields, or diffusing behind deployable shields has also been a fun one for some of these teams to participate in. I mean, in terms of the fun factor, I'm sure Lily had a bit of that in that round. Huge play over towards 90. It was such a strong start to the round for Kira. Fantastic utility burn over towards that Tails position. Fantastic nade follow-up. But for whatever reason, Lily went unchecked. Huge on the Maestro. Just able to hose every single player down that entered into his line of sight. He finished things off nicely, and now Guts claim the advantage.
That's 3 straight rounds now, Guz, as well. We were praising Kira. Honestly, I was really looking convinced by them. They had my vote for who was going to take this after those first 2 rounds. It was not just the fact that they won, but the fact that they were so strong and so convincing. And here in reply, Guts have found 3 rounds, albeit on the back of some good plays in some cases, not necessarily clear-cut and clean rounds from the Japanese, but Kira is starting to falter, starting to look a little bit weaker here. They have one last chance here on their attack half to even things up.
5 seconds remaining.
It's time for Kira to show what they're made of and present their resilience on the big stage. Whoa,
Oof.
Lily. The hell is that?
Love a good spawn peek. Honestly, where was
I
that?
actually have no idea, dude.
There
Oh,
you
there
go.
we go. Bike window. Mudroom window. See you later.
Yeah.
Good night.
Well, we speculated as to what the Finker was doing, and well, this round it will have no impact, but also that's another big impact. Lily's going nuts at the moment. 4K last round, spawn peak here. Looks like Guts are starting to warm up.
Yeah, no, I was going to say that this is when Kira really need to show up, and I was speaking to Neil, their analyst, really fortunate to get his insight, and he was talking about how this is really just an experience for them. They're going in as the underdogs, pretty fresh, looking to just learn as much as they can, go as deep into the bracket as possible, and that may well bode well for them. Often teams in Siege, we've seen it time and time again, when they're not under as much pressure to perform, they tend to do better. I would argue that heading into this one, the expectation is on Guts to win, and they would be feeling the weight of that expectation, the weight of Japan on their shoulders a little bit. Whereas for Kira, not so much of an issue. They can play their game, and they are doing so, bringing out wild picks here in this match, and I hope that continues.
Oh, well, speaking of picks, that is the first one from JJ. That's actually not a very common line of sight vertically. Like, there are some lines of sight vertically that are pretty common, pretty well established, and you see them every round. That's not one that I would put in that list. So credit to JJ there, a bit of ingenuity gets him the first pick. But Kira reply with some good map controllers. They've pushed these players off of 90.
Oh, 5 versus 3. Kira, the theme of digging deep will reign true in this round, bringing back an attack deficit of this magnitude. Very, very challenging, particularly when Guts have the momentum. They at least have a foothold over towards top red, and they can dump some utility in towards the site. Rattler, without much utility to spare, or none in fact, has to take the damage on the Suya gate, but that's okay. That's not alright though. Slayer, oh, he wastes the Selma. He obviously can't place one on the Vault, and this does not bode well at all for Kira.
As they start to fall apart, Diffuser is down. The last player, oh, one of two of Kira's last players, is prone. Slayer burns. All on a Thav, the Nomad, looking into study, and well, all he's going to be studying is the floor as Guts put him in the ground. And there you go, they managed to get 4 rounds in a row and steal away that half.
Well, my prediction starts to get a little bit more concerning now, I must admit.
What did you predict? What was the scoreline?
I don't think I gave it a scoreline. Honestly, if I had to give it one, I know obviously I'm going to come across as a cheat now. I probably honestly would have said Kira 7-5, so
Yeah.
we'll run with that for now.
Well, better have
Not
some good
looking overly
defense.
likely. Yeah, I don't know. 2-4 typically on an attack on most maps. Probably a pretty decent pass rate. Again, considering for the most part in APAC at the moment, maps are leaning towards the defense. So provided Kira have good defensive setups, Dev, like honestly, every chance they bring this back, they've just got to try and hold this momentum, which has been building for a while now.
Now, just to talk about the defense side, in terms of APAC North, Villa's 58% defensive sided. So now that does suggest a 4-2 half. And that's also a massive sample size. You know, Villa was actually the most played map in APAC North. Of course, that's where Guts come from, not the case for Kira. Unfortunately, I don't have as many stats on hand for Kira, with the South Asia Nationals just not quite being as prevalent on the SiegeGG website, I'm afraid. At SiegeGG. Get in there. Jump on it.
Quickie plug. All my homies love SiegeGG.
Yep, especially when they have some stats. You got stats. I mean, that's they say the way to a caster's heart is through his stat book.
I was literally going to say that, so I'm glad you did. Stole it right from the tip of my tongue.
Attackers have dropped the bomb diffuser.
Well, let's see if Kira can steal some rounds back, hey? Playing quite aggressive on this defense, in fact. Rattler over towards bedroom, Deathamar down in basement, Slayer even on the northern side of the map as well. So they have more players on the opposite side of the map to the objective than they do actually on the objective itself. So some confidence set up here from the defense, but they're not really going to find many picks. Guts fully setting up for a study tape.
Certainly are. Here's Light downstairs on the Ash. Now, you might think, why has Ash got the diffuser? Well, funnily enough, Light doesn't necessarily play the entry fragging position, often on the back line, or I guess you could say in a flex position, but he's usually on the Zephyr. So I wonder, with Light performing just so well recently, right, guys, over the weekend, he's been the standout player far and away for Guts. Maybe that's why Kira banned this Zephyr. They thought, hey, let's just throw him off the M762, throw him off his comfort pick. But let's be honest, like, surely Light going on to Ash, it will be fine. I mean, Ash is honestly just such a great fragging operator and has almost equivalent utility.
Yeah, Ash is pretty good. Even Xenox can probably get a couple of kills with her on a good day. We'll have to, of course, see if Light's having a good day. Going 2 and 4 currently, but in a great position to step up. Athav, though, very cheeky position. Doesn't have the FA12 in hand, but he does have the Scorpion. Mows down 1, makes it 2. Come on, make it 3, surely. Getting pitched from behind, needs to be careful. Gets caught off guard, though. So it is an eventual trade here from Guts, as they need to reclaim the diffuser. JJ actually gets it back to the 3-on-3, but here's the retake over towards Brown.
Oh, it's back and forth here, guys. You just can't keep up with it. As Guts have 2 players left. Diffuser still down. Athav went massive at top Brown, taking down Lily and Light. But Guts managed to get a couple of kills out of the exchange. Still, I feel like this really does favor Kira. 2 players left is just not very many for Guts. And what it means is now, as they are separated, they're both going to have to really nail their individual play. Crazy Papillon has to walk through so much of the map right now. Fortunately for him, there's no one to contest, but he likely doesn't have info here.
Kira, a pivotal role to try and pick up that diffuser. Crazy Papillon gets in on the action to make it a 2 versus 2. Diffuser recovered, but they need to get the plant down.
This is so winnable. Info in abundance now.
15 seconds
The
left.
pre-fire comes through. Yura wants to plant, needs Vault to be covered.
10 seconds.
Stands in the Banshee, needs to push forward. Not going for the plant, going for the kills. Almost lands that one, but time is running away from Guts. Yura does not plant, and Kira hold firm and win it on time.
That's a nice looking kitchen. It's not
Thanks for
bad.
that input, Gus.
Well, it was also pretty nice defense there from Kira. Despite the Roamers not having a massive impact mid-round or early to mid-round, we did see the flank up Brownstairs late round as they attack, sought control of that side of the map. A lot of chaos ensued, particularly off the back of Death Amara on the Allah. Brave enough to play the Scorpion at that sort of range, as opposed to the FO12, which has seen some playtime in APAC, but back him in those scenarios, he did have an impact.
I saw you running the FO12 yesterday in casual. You starting to become a bit of a fan, are you?
Attackers need to locate,
Yeah,
defuse, and
look,
ready bombs.
I've learned a lot watching APAC South this season. You run the FO12, you hide in the corner. If in doubt, lie prone, and you're probably bound to get 2 or 3 kills for free.
no.
So that's the strat.
It's disgusting, mate. That is disgusting. But you know, this has been a pretty tight game, I'd say. Both these teams giving it their all, and credit to Kira, they had lost 4 rounds in a row. Momentum was squarely in Guts' favor, but the South Asians, you know, put on their big boy pants and came to play, and they've taken their first defense round, looking to make it more, and even just one more here would even up the scoreline. We talked about how the map is defense-sided, at least in APAC North and APAC South as well. So you would think here that Kira have a solid chance to make a comeback, and honestly, they could even take it 7-5, as you had predicted.
Wow, Guts Gaming again setting up for a study take. Alright. Looking to sweep across the map and hedge their bets on a top red take. Rattler, quite aggressive inside of Aviator. Narrowly misses the drone and also narrowly misses his head being taken cleanly off by the likes of JJ, looking to push through alongside Light. Just waiting for these drones to gather some intel, but Rattler, he's doing a pretty good job in pushing them back.
And there's the logic bomb to detonate and call. That's alright. Amar doesn't have time to answer that. He's going for a jog downstairs as Rattler holds on to Aviator for as long as possible. Feeling the pressure now from Games Room. JJ, no drone ahead. This C4 could be massive. JJ
no
needs
way.
to land this shot. He won't even hear the C4 rip.
Don't do
Bro,
it.
this is the double! It's shot out! That's so good! And Rattler finds one, pre-fires, gets the second one through the couch, but Light does trade, so that's a 1-for-1 at the end of it. Make that a 2-for-1 as Kira double down and take down Light.
Great work there from Rattler. A little bit of a rat play, but he does eventually secure that kill in his final breath. They have the 4-3 advantage. The diffuser has been dropped. Casey Papillon needs to, of course, go across and pick that up. Death of Mars still looming down below. I wonder if the flank watch is being established. Only one air jab has been used by Guts, and in the 2 versus 4, they could be under a lot of pressure from a pinch.
Starting to get very, very difficult and starting to get a little bit of deja vu from last round. Crazy Papillon once again in a 2 versus 4 and looking to clutch. 50 seconds. It's a quiet moment here as Kira know they only have to wait.
Attackers have located a bomb.
Shots rain out. A couple of warning shots if you would. Kira smart though. They're not going to peek. They know they still have one roamer they can play off and the rest can play in towards site. Those smoke canisters will only delay this push. Envy with one left still in the pocket as the push comes through now.
25 seconds and just about nothing the Japanese can do to make this work. Envy gets up close and personal, takes matters into his own hands. The trade comes through from Lily and can't cover the flank while pushing the site. Kira Esports even up the scoreline to 4 rounds apiece.
Well, the momentum now well and truly halted here by Kira, despite Guts winning the last 4 rounds of their defensive half. They're struggling here on their attack. Kira getting up in their face. Nice and personal, particularly off-site. Rattler there, inside of Aviator. I have never seen a player pre-hold a C4 to C4 someone in Vault. Never mind for it to not actually work, and then he ends up getting a kill just before getting traded back. It was just absolutely wild. But it seems to be working. It's dislodging these attacks, and Guts are finding it difficult to respond.
I think Kira are in a way playing into a weakness of Guts. It's almost on Guts really that they haven't found the opening picks these last 2 rounds. It's been Kira to find those kills. And partly I would put it on Guts because 2 rounds in a row they've just walked into someone without droning. And I do feel like, drone ahead of JJ that round to spot out the player in Aviator may well have been a free kill for Guts. And likewise, in the previous round, Atharv playing atop Brown Stairs, got the double kill in Study. Perhaps if Guts had droned that out more imminently before pushing in, that would have been a good kill for them, or at least a trade. But it seems like Kira are running this back and punishing Guts for those oversights.
Attackers are moving out to locate
Yeah, in fact, the worrying number really is that of the 8 rounds played so far, 6 of those, 6 have gone to Kira, the opening kill. That's nuts. That's a pretty dominant statistic. And it's actually been pretty well spread. In fact, Slayer is the only player for Kira that has not gotten an opening kill. So it's not even as if Kira are leaning on just one player to solo entry and be that god bolo player, if you would. They literally are spreading that load really, really well, playing into their strengths. And I'm keen to see what they do here. I'm expecting a roam above. Of course, they're defending kitchen and dining. But as you can see, multiple players off-site looking to find that opener.
Yeah, good loose roam, but also a bit of a creative setup on site with that shield extending into laundry, not something you see every day. With the FO12, of course, Slayer. We talked about that Ella shotgun. It's 2 shotgun players on site here. Love to see it. Love those ADSs to protect that shield as well. Should be burnable by Guts, though, if they put their attention to it, as an Ella mine actually detonates. That may well be upstairs. And Light starts to get to work, mincing up this floor, pressuring the site. But of course, as you mentioned, Guts need to be ever so cautious about those flanks from the roamers.
Now, it looks like Guts maybe are thinking about trying to establish Vert on music for a plant later in towards the round. They may inadvertently create a line of sight in towards that player inside of Laundry and be able to dislodge him. Rattler does get dislodged first though, so it's a good opener for Guts, but it's a very quick trade. Lily taken off the board, the top fragger for Guts.
with that, I start to get a little bit more scared for Kira. They're so spread out right now that if Guts just get info on site, they should be able to mount and execute pretty imminently, even in a 4v4.
Attackers have recovered
Kira.
their diffuser.
Holding and waiting, a minute 11 on the clock. Guts start to push on up.
So that laundry position now has been well cleared, and Yura stepped foot inside of the building, has a really long cross over towards China. He can watch any rotating defenders. He can even get a line of sight there in towards Sheets. There is a player tucked away inside of Bicycle. It's Slayer. Of course, he needs to rely on the pistol. He has the shotgun in his pocket. Surely Guts can send out some smokes and think about a plan.
Yeah, but Kira have some smokes of their own. The gas, that's Envy on site. 2 kills. And on the back of that, Slayer gets aggressive. This is so perfect from Kira. They are playing this fantastically. No one was on that drone from Guts as well.
No.
JJ has absolutely no bloody clue, and he's about to drop to his demise, but he pre-fires the angle and takes down Slayer. A 2v1 for Guts Gaming. A Tharv to hold on. He sees the boost, but JJ is right there, ready and waiting. And the SMG-11 gets Guts the lead once again.
I just can't help but feel Kira getting a little bit greedy in that round. They had the man advantage and they tried to take super aggressive positions, which sure enough could have been enough to secure them the round, but Guts, they just took a very small pause and just took a deep breath, set themselves up and found those picks. They isolated ones, they weren't traded back. They do of course successfully take the round. In doing so, they gain a very minute lead, but they could set themselves up for that match point, edging themselves closer to gaining at least a few more SI points towards those global standings.
Yeah, and just to take a moment to reference the global standings, Kira Esports have never received SI points before. Never ever.
I never have either.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's to be expected, right? But Kira Esports never have. Last year, the only way a South Asian team could get SI points was if they won their mini major. And of course, Kira Esports never even qualified for it. So, you know, props to them. If they, well, no matter what, they've guaranteed some SI points here, thanks to their win over Cyclops. They've guaranteed at least top 8 in APAC. Now, this game determines which of these teams is the 8th place overall in APAC and which is the 7th place overall in APAC, which is a little bit of bonus SI points. As for Guts, they've really never been to an SI before, of course. They've also never been to a major or any kind of global LAN event, with the exception of JJ and Crazy Papillon during their time on Norengo. So definitely a hope to once again return to the global stage for those players.
Maybe I should go for Guts. It seems like we have a lot in common.
In what way? You haven't been
Never
to
been to SI, never been to major.
Yeah, but see, they've done LANs before.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. I never. Not have opened up that.
You put the crosshair on your back, you painted it right there for me, you gave me the loaded gun, all I had to do was pull the trigger, Guz.
If only those entry stats were as good in ranked as they were in our casts.
Alright, I digress. Guts are on the attack, 1 round away from the match point. And a step closer to, of course, 7th place overall in APAC Light. Surely that's a bait. He sees the player. Slayer thinks he hasn't been droned.
Ooh. Oh, what the hell was that? Just locking onto JJ. The sledge does prevail in that gunfight nonetheless, but that was a little bit scary. Can't believe JJ walks away with that amount of HP. It looked like a very sharp flick there from Slayer, but just like he did, I got a little bit overexcited about that one, and unfortunately, now Kira are on the back foot with Guts mounting map control.
Big opening pick as well. Last round we saw that even though Kira Esports made it close in the late round with some good side presence, Guts having established the early man advantage really helped them out. Now Rattler droned out. Guts, their drone work seems to be so much better now, and that is just perfect. A pristine way to punish these roamers, and Guts make a 5 versus 3 man advantage.
Kira just seem to be overly reliant on this dual roam, despite whatever the situation is. They love to have at least 2 roamers, particularly down below as to where the attack is pushing from, to try and catch them off guard. And it is quite working out. Deathlamar may have been in a position to pull something off, but it's a lovely drone there from Guts to deny him from that initial flank. The Light is going to go hunting.
Tempted. Kira do have the manpower to spare, but what they are running out of is time. 30 seconds on the clock. 1 gas remaining. Also, 1 Ella concussion mine remaining, which could potentially deny or delay that plant. 20 seconds now. That's the final gas to go through. JJ sends it deep. Low HP flash and finished. And this is looking a bit desperate now for Guts. Lily goes down, but not out. A Tharv down. And now it's all on Amar to clutch up Light. That is massive. Yura in a 1 versus 1. Does he plan? He doesn't even have the diffuser. Goes for the kill and he gets it. Guts Gaming take match point.
How did Guts manage that? Wow. Trial by fire at the remainder of that round, at the end of that round. Death Amar played it perfectly. He lurked below for so long, played it incredibly patiently, and Guts, not sure whether or not they had the intel, seemingly unaware of the flank up top red, and Death Amar able to find a couple of picks, but then a small misstep, just a small misstep in staying around for a little bit too long, was capitalized upon Guts, who claimed the round. They claim map point.
Yeah, and of course, match point. This is a best of 1. There's no second chance here for Kira should they lose this round. It's not that far of a trek, though, to get to overtime. Should, of course, Kira have what it takes. Now, we've seen pretty significant comebacks already today. In fact, it was Guts who mounted a pretty insane comeback against Cyclops. What was it, 6 rounds in a row on Coastline? Unfaltering on their attacks. And it looks like while it did take them a moment to warm up on their attacks here on Villa, they are back into it. 2 rounds back to back. Though Guz, that round then just did give me a bit of a heart attack. So with as close as that got us, I feel like Kira do have a very real possibility here of getting their heads back into the game.
Yeah, I think, again, in an alternate universe, this is a 5-5. It was so close there from Death Amar. If he had his time again, he would have probably played a little bit more defensively on the red stairs and forced that plan to go down, but just like he can't, we also don't want to dwell on the could'ves and should'ves. Instead, we'll focus on the present, and Kira now, it's their last stand here in the APAC playoffs for stage 1. It's been a great effort from them so far to find themselves in this position from arguably the most underdeveloped division of APAC, but putting up a good stand here. A couple more rounds just to get this to overtime would be a monumental effort.
Well, one thing that you might be happy to hear if you're a Kira Esports or a South Asia fan, or maybe just someone who likes to see an underdog take it, is Kira now have trophy and stat unlocked again. So they didn't lose this last time. They won this bomb site quite convincingly, if you recall. And they're looking to do it again now that it is unlocked. But Guts have been playing a lot better from now on. Let's see whether they can find that opening pick.
Guts have been really strong in the early round, at least in the previous 2 rounds that they were able to claim, getting the opening pick in both. Here, in response, may rein in some of the over-aggression that we're seeing, particularly on the roam, and instead focus their efforts in towards defending the utility placed on site. And a quick look at the overhead shows that that's exactly what they're doing. At least, yeah, in fact, 4 members on site. I don't know exactly where the 5th is, so Death Amar still, you know, feels the urge to go for a roam, but it is definitely a little bit more defensive here from Kira.
Push back into their shell. JJ looking to clear that electric ball. Works out. So we see the breach from the Selmas on the master wall. C4 tossed over the top finds nothing. An impact from Slayer, though, does delay those Selmas. We've got 1 Selma left from Yura and 1 impact grenade. This actually might look a bit grim now. There's the impact, but it does not hit that Selma. 4v4 now, though. Some big picks both ways. Pivotally, that's the smoke taken out.
Lily, from below, drops Death Amar on the roam. You could see his corpse lying at the bottom of the Astro stairs, and that will free up that position for the Dockerby if they decide to push here. And of course, team up with Light and start thinking about the execute. Only 30 seconds left and a lot of drones to work with.
JJ's been on fire this game, desperate to get those SI points and get back to a global event. Chases down that player, gets the injure, looking for more. There's a headshot, and the plan to go down. Guts Gaming to cover.
Oh.
It's all on Rattler below for this retake. A 1v4 turned into a 1v2, but it ain't enough. Guts Gaming have done it. They take 7th place in APAC, the stage 1.
A solid performance there from Guts, and in doing so, they will net 140 SI points towards the global standings for stage number 1. If you, of course, were tracking Kira Esports, they'll walk home still with 115. That's a nice little foundation for both teams heading into the rest of the year.
Great showing for Guts, redeeming Japan after what has been a bit of a lackluster performance throughout this bracket. But of course, Guts Gaming get that revenge that the Japanese fans wanted over Kira, who had already defeated the favorites of Cyclops. So a big game there for Guts. Fantastic redemption story for them that is now secured. But of course, let's take a moment to just acknowledge South Asia, how far they've come. And of course, Kira Esports, the dark horse underdogs, who didn't even play in any of the South Asia mini-majors last year and have come through and made the deepest run in an APAC tournament we have ever seen from the South Asian team.
Yeah, like I said, talking to their support staff leading into the event, they basically had very little to no expectation heading into this event. Gain some experience, play your game, and just the world is your oyster, really, to see what can be done. And at the end of the day, they managed to pocket some SI points, right? That's a huge improvement. That's just absolutely massive. As I said, a good foundation for the rest of the year. If they can improve upon this result for the rest of the year, hopefully if majors return, they can head to one of those. That would be absolutely huge. And who knows? I don't think it's going to be too long until we see a South Asian team at the 6th Invitational. Maybe not this year, but at the rate they're improving, it probably isn't too far away.
There you go, South Asian fans rejoice. There is a shot this year of getting to the Invitational, but of course this moment is for Guts and for the Japanese fan base behind them. We'll toss it over to the desk to close out this one.
Thank you very much, Dev. It was, of course, an interesting game, all things considered. We obviously need to highlight Guts, Raven, because, you know, when we do look back at it, they were able to win it out when it most needed it. I think that it was still a close game, though.
Yeah, look, super close game. I think we weren't expecting Kira to potentially challenge as well as that. I know that when we were breaking it down before we went in, it felt like it was going to be clear that Guts were the favorites. And look, ultimately they did close it out. But I would also love to credit Kira. I think they had some fantastic play on Villa. They really did take it to Guts. Just some smaller errors that cost them, maybe showing the age of the region a little bit. But I have to agree with Guz. You know, I feel like it's just a matter of time before we start to see South Asia start to climb through the standings in APAC.
And Xenox will play devil's advocate, me and you. I think Kira have done incredibly well. And I think the South Asian region should be pretty proud of what their team has accomplished. But not only that, you know, they nearly there was a chance there where they could have gone 5-5 with Guts, and who knows from there, it was anyone's game.
Yeah, and look, they started really well. They won the first 2 rounds, and we're sitting there and thinking that maybe Villa was going to be their safe haven and to get the win. Ultimately, I think what I saw from this best of 1 is enough to again say that they can compete with APAC North, with APAC South. It would be very intriguing to see them actually in one of the regions, whether it be South or North, in the regular season, and see how they would actually fare over the course over, you know, the entire season as a whole, outside of, you know, these sort of elimination games. But ultimately, you know, they definitely should hold their heads high as they do bow out. And for Guts, they do get a little extra SI points, you know, 140 versus 115 for Kira.
Yeah, and Raven, closing sentiments on the South Asian region or anything in particular for that game?
I think South Asia have done a great job in the Stage 1 APAC playoffs in the new format for 2021. I feel like as a region, they should be really happy with how that's gone. I think they really demonstrated that they can be competitive when they come to these APAC playoffs. It's just honestly fantastic to see. And conversely, look, Guts, I think they'll be a little bit disappointed they bowed out when they did. But I think they've also showed that they can start to really fight and progress through the standings in APAC as well as Japan. We brought up that storyline a lot. They're always in the shadow of Cyclops. They did have a pretty decent series against them. Maybe throughout the year, they might be able to start to get on top of them.
And you've just mentioned them. Cyclops, of course, they are currently fighting their way through that lower bracket. Seventh Heaven are looking to contest them. We're going to go to a short break, ladies and gents. And on the other side, we have yet another lower bracket final. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a jiffy.